Our brother has asked about a concept amongst Muslims, especially in the subcontinent, regarding people who are given the label of Sayyids, Sayyid, with the claim that they are descendants of Prophet Muhammad's family. This is the claim. Of course, any such claim, first and foremost, we say, must be supported by evidence. Please trace your ancestry right back to the Prophet ﷺ for me. And most of these people, in fact, 99.99% of these people cannot do that.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Brothers and sisters, you've just witnessed the clip in which Dr. Bilal Philips is being asked about Sayyids of the Indian subcontinent. So we're speaking about the Sayyids of India and Pakistan. And much to my dismay, much to my annoyance, he demonstrated a lot of ignorance with regards to the history and demographics of that region. So the first thing he said was that any claim in being a descendant of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam has to be verified, there has to be proof, and we agree with that. However, then he goes on to say 99.9% of Sayyids, or as he would say, so-called claimants of being Sayyid, cannot prove their lineage back to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. This number, although I acknowledge that it's a slight exaggeration, intentional exaggeration on his part, in order to emphasize that the vast majority of these people are not Sayyid, he still made a poor judgment and a misrepresentation of the facts. Even if we were to say he meant the vast majority. He also said that many of these are those who claimed, their families claimed to be Sayyids from 2 to 3 generations back, or 3 to 4, I don't remember exactly what he said. But it was in that ballpark. He said that these people claimed to be Sayyids a few generations back, and everybody believed them, and they became Sayyids, which is very, very poor. A very poor reflection on him. The fact of the matter is, the Sayyids of the Indian subcontinent have something which Sayyids in other regions of the world may not necessarily have. And those are the British records from the time of the occupation, when the British Raj existed. The British used to make records dating back to the 19th century. And in these records, they mentioned any passing on of any piece of land between 2 individuals or 3 individuals, or however long the chain of ownership passes on. And quite often this is father, son, grandson, great-grandson, and so on and so forth. And at the same time, this lineage which is mentioned, rather the names that are mentioned, are often accompanied by the tribe they belong to. Now we mentioned this goes back to the 19th century. So if that's the case, then just purely on that, purely based upon this, let's not go into all of the family trees and then the corresponding family trees in other places, the splitting of the lineages between brothers and proven migrations and old documents, the possession of verifiable documentation, the testimony of the genealogists, the local genealogists in these places, the fame over centuries for these families. Let's put that aside. Just these land records, which were compiled by the British, where they recorded these transfer of lands, disproves the claim of Bilal Philips, Dr. Bilal Philips, And those who say that, many Sayyids came, and after partition, they decided to become Sayyids because they were originally of a Hindu background where there was a caste system, and they wanted to bring it into Islam, and they wanted to maintain their status, knowing full well that Islam gives equal treatment to everybody. So they wanted to bring something along with them which puts them above everybody else, and they maintain that status quo. But this is baseless. Now, my intention behind this is not to say that there's no false claimants and then, everybody who claims to be a Sayyid is a Sayyid. No. But the exaggeration by Dr. Bilal Philips in this situation is extremely unjust on his part. And it reflects an ignorance which, to be honest, I don't know what it's based upon. And just one example before we go. The whole idea of, they're not able to trace it back. There's a Sayyid, whose example I can give you, who lives in a certain region of Pakistan. And this Sayyid, his lineage returns back to an ancestor who migrated from a certain part, another part of Pakistan. And this ancestor actually lived in around the 14th century AD. So we're talking about many centuries ago. Interestingly, the people, and there's many examples like this, by the way, in case you're thinking that this is just a solitary example, which is not the case. It spans back centuries. And interestingly, even though that Sayyid migrated to the area he currently lives in, he had a brother who is verified in that record, which the Sayyid possesses, and the records of that Sayyid who left that area to go to his new area. So the one who left migrated from area A to area B. The descendants of his brother, again, we're talking about centuries ago, maintain documentation that a Sayyid by this name left and arrived at the location B. How does Bilal Philips account for this? How does this make any sense according to what he said? And I'm vouching and I am testifying that there's many Sayyids who can prove this. And there are local genealogists. There is a acceptance of the forefathers of these Sayyids by local historians. Not only this, but another thing that must be understood. Those Sayyids whose fame has been accepted over centuries, who are well known to be Sayyids, are not to have their lineage questioned. And this is a Shari'i issue, a legal issue, which I believe is shared by most sects of Islam, regardless of which sect you belong to. Thank you so much for listening to this, watching this video. I greatly appreciate your viewership, your listening, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Thank you so much.